It's your boy Durante Ford. In this one, I'm going to teach you all how to start building your credit. This is a big one, and before I go any further, again, the finance side of stuff or the money part, this is for educational purposes only, for legality reasons. So I'm putting it out there. It's for educational purposes only. But this is a big one, learning how to build credit and just learning things with credit in general. That was some of my eyebrow, but just learning things about credit in general. Again, I work at a bank and I'm kind of dressed up because I'm on my lunch break. But I wanted to come on here and just tell you about how to start building your credit. So after this, you'll definitely have a great idea. Matter of fact, you'll have a better idea than the average person out here about credit. But yeah, I wanted to go through this and I'm going to tell you how to build your credit in 4 steps, right? And 4 steps. I like to keep things easy, simple, and I try to keep it short if I can. What I'm gonna do before I get into the steps, I'm gonna just give some background information on it. Because likely if you're in here, you're probably someone who's already, you could be older, you could be younger, someone who maybe is just wanting to build up their credit to buy a house or buy a car. I don't know, or maybe just want to have good credit in general, or maybe you just want to know. So before I get into the 4 steps of how to build your credit, I'm going to give some background information first, because I just like to make everything easy and simple. So first and foremost, if I had to ask you, what is credit? What is credit? And why is it such a big thing, and why is it so important? Well, to simply put it, what is credit? Credit is basically just saying what is your likelihood that if you borrow money from someone or a bank or wherever, if you borrow money, what is your likelihood to pay that money back? That's the simple way to put it. What's the likelihood you're going to pay the money back that you borrow? That's basically what it is. And of course, it's important in that sense, because if you look at it like this, what happens if a random person comes up to you and asks you, hey, can I borrow $10,000 just as like a personal loan? You don't get anything back, but I just want to borrow $10,000 because I want to make a major purchase of something. Just ask yourself, how likely are you to just give $10,000 to a random person? And they just say they just want to do it to make an extra purchase and then pay. They say they're going to pay you back. And especially if they say all right, I'm going to pay you back over 4 years, right? At this amount. How comfortable would you be with giving this person $10,000? And let's up it. What if somebody comes to you and say, all right, I want to get $50,000 from you to buy this vehicle and I'll pay you back over 7 years. How likely are you yourself to give somebody $50,000 and pay it and let them pay you back over 7 years? Or let's even up it even more. How likely are you to have somebody come to you and say, all right, let me get $200 or maybe even $300,000 so that I can, if a random person comes up to you and say, can I get $300,000 to buy a home and I'll pay you back over 30 years? What is the likelihood of you to be comfortable with giving someone $300,000 and paying you back over 30 years? So I would say that's the part where it gets extremely important, because if you look at it from that perspective, then you can get a little bit better of an insight of why it can be hard to get certain loans for things. But that's a little bit of background information. And also, I'm also going to mention this too, because this goes on the range. So example, going off of these examples where I would say the $10,000 just the personal loan, and the $50,000 with the vehicle, and then $300,000 with the car. We all got a profile that consumer reporting agencies, which are things like Experian or TransUnion or FICO, where they basically put up, info what your profile would be to give people more information on you. Banks have their own, and of course this goes a lot deeper than this, but this is just general info. But it basically shows your profile in a way, so they can see who they're lending the money to. And in that, it basically shows have you had loans before, how you have been back paying those back, and are you reliable to do that, which is impactful into how likely they are to give you the loan that you want and at some good rate terms, And so with that profile, it's good to, matter of fact, I'm back up it's good to be able to the profile of it shows them or the financial institution you're getting the money from, or a person. It just shows how likely you are to pay the money back, which is why they heavily look at your consumer reports that are made to consumer reporting agencies, or your credit score. That's why it's so impactful, right? So we learned that, and it also goes on a range. So the credit score range, it ranges from the very lowest possible score you can have in any credit score. Like this is from that profile they built out. The lowest possible score is 300. The highest possible score is 850. So 300 is the lowest, 850 is the absolute highest. You want to try to be at 850 or as close to 850 as you can, because it obviously shows that you're more likely to pay stuff back. It makes you look more reliable. That's the goal. Now, also, this is something a lot of people don't know too as well, what you're not familiar with. If, let's say you've never had any type of loan or credit card or anything in your name, technically having no credit is almost around the same thing as having bad credit, because it's like if you're asking to borrow $300,000 for a home and you've never even had to pay anything back before ever, it's kind of, of course someone's going to be hesitant to give you $300,000 because you don't really have anything to base your reliability off of. So I'm just this is why it's pretty like informative, so it gives everyone an understanding of like how it kind of works in a way, right? But yeah, that was a little bit background info, and I would try to pop up the ranges in a picture possibly, but the ranges like with it, like it's like 300 to 579. If you have a score between that, it's considered like poor. And if you have a score range of 580 to 669, that's considered fair. And if you have a range of 670 to 739, like if your credit score is this, it's estimated to be like good. And if you have a credit score rating of 740 to 799, it's considered very good. And then if you have a credit score rating of 800 to 850, that is considered exceptional. So those are different ranges. I would try to pop up a picture for it. But yeah, those are the ranges. So now I'm going to get into the 4 steps of how to start building your credit today. So number 1, first step to take and learn how to build your credit is, number 1, check where you're currently at. What do I mean by that? Check where your current credit rating is. You can do this for free using Credit Karma. I mean, I've used it plenty of times before I use it. You can use that. It's free. It's an app that you can easily download on your phone or maybe even computer. I never looked at it on computer, but you just go to credit card. It's going to ask you some information over you to be able to locate you and make sure it's you. And then in that, you can get it, see where your credit reporting, where credit reporting agencies list your credit score at. Credit Karma uses Experian and TransUnion, which are 2 credit reporting agencies. You also could probably go to FICO directly. FICO is another credit reporting agency, and you can just go on there and possibly look at your credit score too as well. I've never done that, but I just mostly use Credit Karma. But yeah, these will tell you what your credit score is. And you also have the ability, like from Experian and maybe TransUnion too, but you do have the ability to get 3 actual credit reports for free every single year. I mean, even using Credit Karma is free in general, but you have the ability to get 3 free credit reports per year. And I highly recommend you at least bare minimum go to Credit Karma or somewhere to be able to check it for free and see where you're at. And it's big because this will not only show you where you're at, but you also want to make sure the information that they're showing is accurate. Because a lot of times you'll see like your previous addresses or accounts or anything like that. You also want to make sure the information is accurate, because if you see something on there that you know for a fact was not you, then likely it may be a possible identity fraud or identity theft. So this is why it's also good to check, number 1, where you're at right here, right now. So that number 1, you know where your credit score ideally is, and then number 2, so make sure like no one's stealing your identity and taking out loans in your name that you don't know about. So number 1, check where you're at. Check where you're at. Check where you're at. That's big. That's gonna be key. Number 2, the second step out of 4 and learning how to and starting to build your credit up is to add credit to your history. So there's numerous ways you could do this. I'm just dumbing it down to 2 simple ways. One way, which is actually kind of clever, but I'm not going to say I just recommend this for anyone at all. But one way is like if you're trying to build your credit, I've heard of people doing this and I've heard it worked out for them, but I'm not saying this is just something you need to do or be done because it can really backfire. Number 1 is being added as an authorized user to someone with good credit. Now, that's going to take a lot of trust on that person who's adding you. I've seen people or know people who are parents and they've added their children as authorized users. And when they done that, because their parents had really good credit score, they just add their children as an authorized user to some of their cards or accounts. And what that does is it basically kind of jump starts their credit. Like they just basically start out almost at the place of like where their parents are, because they were added as it. But that's why I was also saying, like, there's a big caveat to that, because if you are added as an authorized user and you don't pay on time, or like things get messed up, that will mess both of your credit reporting up, right? So that's one way, but I'm not saying it's the way for everyone, and I'm not even necessarily going to recommend it, because that takes a lot of trust. So but anyway, you can be added as an authorized user, and it basically jump starts you to the credit score or the credit that the person you're being added to with. So that's one way. The general way is, I would think it would be general, but another way is to just have accounts open in your name. You could also, there's another way where you can apply for, like, open up accounts, like get a new vehicle or get a personal loan or anything, or a credit card with someone else. Well, credit cards, you have to be authorized user, but like you can get a personal loan and have like a co-owner on it, or a vehicle and have someone else like a co-signer on it. You could do that too, but I'm just going at the general way. Like, you open up an account, it's just you by yourself. One way that I would say is a way that you could definitely get your foot in the door is by getting a credit card. Now, this doesn't mean get the credit card and you go crazy with the credit card. No, it means get the credit card, wherever the credit limit they give you. Most likely, if you're just starting out from the beginning, it's probably going to be something on the lower end, but it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. So getting into the credit game, like example, like say you get a credit card. This is something I did. Like, you get a credit card. This is also a big misconception too. So once you get the card, it looks better for you to use less of the borrowing power than to use most of it. Example, like I will write this on a piece of paper just so like everyone can understand what I'm saying. So let's say between all of your accounts, let's say you are able to borrow $100,000. Now, this means, like, let's say you got credit cards open and all this, and like the credit, like basically all it is if you're unfamiliar with credit cards in general, it's just like the banks or financial institution that you got the credit card through is allowing you to borrow the money, and then you just pay it back to them. So essentially, let's say like you're able to I'm using this as I know this is probably like a high number, but I'm just using it just to make things simple, like 100,000. Let's say you're able to borrow $100,000, and I'm gonna draw like a little bar or something. Yeah, let's say you're able to borrow $100,000, and let's say out of this 100,000, let's say you are borrowing, I'm gonna say like 1,000. I'm gonna highlight this and say like this is 1,000. So let's say out of this $100,000, you're able to borrow $100,000, but so far you've used $1,000 on it, and that like you owe $1,000 left out of 100,000, right? So that means you got like 90,000 or 99,000 that you have not touched, right? Now let's do the same thing, but the other way. I'm gonna draw another thing. Now let's say, all right, my alarm is going off. Come back, you ready to go back to work. But let's do this another way. All right, second idea. Let's say you're able to borrow $100,000 total between all of your accounts that you have open, which can include any kind of credit card or anywhere. And let's say out of the $100,000, you're borrowing $90,000 of it. Now you're using a lot more of the total that you're able to borrow. If you ask which looks worse, like if somebody asked you, like, let's say this person right here is borrowing $90,000, and you know the total amount they can borrow is $100,000. Let's say they want to borrow an extra $300,000 from you to get a home. Who are you more likely to get the money to in this sense? Most likely, you're most likely to get the money to this person because they're not using as much, which kind of shows more reliability in a way. So, which is why, like, it looks good on credit reporting agencies for you to only be using, like, I want to say it's like 30% or less, which I believe they aim to, it looks better for you to be utilizing like 30% of what you're able to totally borrow or less than to use more of it. So basically what I mean, I'm showing you this because, like, example, you get a credit card. I recommend, other than using it for fraud type thing to keep your accounts protected, but I recommend just using it like maybe to buy something small per month, like maybe go grab some gum to start, like once per month, and then pay it off as soon as you do it, like especially before 60 days. But yeah, well, really even 30, but like getting something small, or maybe going to the store and getting gas, like gasoline for your vehicle, fill it up, do that once per month, pay it off as soon as you do it, and it should do that every single month consistently. It shows that you know how to borrow the money and pay it back on time every time. So that looks good. So that's with adding some credit to your history. And big thing is too, what you also see, you can get tips on how to build your credit as well, even through Credit Karma. But the longer you have an account open, let's say you open a credit card today and you have this account, that credit card for like 10 years, that looks good compared to just having an account open for only like a month. So the longer you have accounts open, the better it looks too as well, because it looks like it shows that you can do it for over a long period of time versus just opening an account and just having it for only like a month and closing it out. So having accounts open for a long time, that also looks better, right? So having accounts open for longer and utilizing less of the total borrowing power, those look the best, right? And also not applying for too many credit cards or too many hard inquiries at once looks better than doing a whole bunch of hard inquiries at the same time. So the less inquiries, hard inquiries you have, the better. And a hard inquiry, if you do not know, it's what happens when financial institutions or anywhere takes a look at your credit report, which is done, like example, if you go to buy a house, they're going to run your credit. So I'll take a hard credit pull. Or if you go to get a car, they're going to run your credit, get the hard credit pull. Or even if you apply for a credit card, like to actually apply for it, not just the pre-approval of any of these, when you actually run the application, they will take a hard credit pull, and that will also show up on your credit report for just a time frame. But the less hard inquiries you have, the better it looks. So yeah, to keep it simple, when you open it, the longer you have an account open, the better it looks. The less money you're using out of what you totally have the capability to borrow, that looks better. And the less hard inquiries you have, especially within the time frame, the better that looks. So all those would be able to help make your credit look better, right? So that was the second step out of 4. And if y'all ever have any questions about it, just feel free to let me know, comment. I'll try my best to answer. Again, this is for educational purposes, but yeah, this is just to help you all out. So third step out of 4 in terms of how to start building your credit. Third one I kind of already touched on is pay on time every time. What do I mean by that? So let's say you got an account open, or let's say you get a new vehicle and you have your payments due. Life happens. Life happens to everyone, right? There'll be times where I've gone through financial hardship for sure. Try your best to make the payments at least the minimum as much as you can on time. If you need to, if you're going through a rough time, just reach out to the actual company that you got the loan through, and they should be able to work with you, even if they got to delay some payments or be able to take like a lower payment. Do that. At least reach out to them directly. That's way better than just not paying it and not contacting them. It's so much better to just contact them, because then they can do things to work with you. That's so much better to do instead of just not paying it and not talking to them, because then they can start reporting it to the credit report, like your credit report, and that will show up on your credit report. And when it shows up, especially if it's a serious one, like a serious delinquency or anything, or being repossession or anything, that can stay under your credit report for a while, which can also hurt with trying to do something for borrowing later on in the future. So definitely do your best to try to pay on time every time if you can. And at bare minimum, if you can't, just definitely reach out to the company and they can do something to work with you. They should be able to do something to work with you. Because of course the goal is they just want their money, obviously, so they should be able to work with you. And even with credit cards, at bare minimum, at least pay the minimum. I highly recommend always paying way more than the minimum, but at least in terms of it, just at least pay at bare minimum the minimum. And I say that because it also shows on your credit report too as well, like if you have missed payments or not. So they're able to keep track. Like it reports to your credit report. Consumer credit reporting agencies are able to see like if you missed a payment or not. So I highly recommend paying more than the minimum, but at least pay the minimum. So that will be the third step out of 4 in terms of how to build your credit. So the fourth step, last step in terms of how to build your credit or start building your credit, I would say is to track and monitor your credit report frequently. In terms of how frequently, I recommend just checking at least your money, like your accounts daily. In terms of this, I don't really know how frequently you should check this per se. I would say maybe at least once a week, at least. So much like that. And the reason I say is because, number one, the more you know about it, the more you track it, obviously the better. So I would just say, like, the more you track it, the better. I mean, if you check it every day, it will not hurt to check it every day. But at least then you will also know if something crazy pops up that's not you, you will already be ahead of the game. So I will leave it as the more you check it, the better. And the more you check it, the better. But those are my 4 steps and for at least showing everyone how to start building your credit, especially if you aren't familiar with this in general. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. But yep, I'm just out here trying to help put people on game. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Peace.